Hello guys, Michael here with another video. So let's say that you now learned the theory. You know the theory behind great conversations. And you also learned what you have to practice on practically. So you know exactly how to practice in order to be a good conversationalist based on a solid scientific foundation. All right? So how to actually be good at this and become a good conversationalist practically, automatically. So that is what we want to talk about today. It's going to be somewhat scientific, but let's dig into it, all right? So every time you try to learn something new, your brain are creating new neural pathways, because when you're learning something new, a new neural pathway is created, all right? So that's one thing. And then through repetition after repetition after repetition, you create a habit. And that neural pathway gets strengthened and becomes stronger. And that process is called experience-dependent neuroplasticity, meaning that that neural pathway becomes solid because you now don't have to think about a certain aspect of doing it. You're just doing it automatically. It becomes a habit, all right? So if you want to be good at conversations, you need a series of behavior habits in order to be free-flowing, become flexible in conversations without even thinking. So you want to achieve what we call cognitive flexibility. And cognitive flexibility is actually based on a series, let's say like a couple of habits in different parts of communication skills that together makes you cognitive flexible. And what is the benefit of being cognitive flexible? Well, it's part of who you are. For example, if you go to one attractive woman and you start talking to her, everything she says, you hear what she says word by word without even thinking. And if there is something that caught your attention, you can ask about that particular part without even thinking. You automatically are going to be active listener by sharing something about yourself in that particular topic very easily, very smoothly, and then ask a follow-up question based on that. And you would do all those wonderful things and become super empathetic without even thinking. And one thing that is a beauty being a conversationalist is that everything she says, you noticed everything. And she don't get away. She don't get away with anything. You have her like that. Because you can even say to her that, you know what? Whatever you said there now, I hear everything and you don't get away with anything. I want to know what you mean with that. And I want to know what you mean with this one. And I want to understand the underlying reason about this, and this. Automatically, everything runs into your brain without you thinking. That is what it means to become cognitive flexible. So what you need to do in order to be really, really good, since you know the theory behind great conversations, you know what you need to practice on, everything that you're going to practice on, you have to create a habit of it. All right? So asking questions, how to listen, how to reflect back of what she says, how to use labeling, how to tell a short story about yourself in a relay fashion and then roll over the ball to her again. How to using pre-sentences in order to ask questions, in order to make that question go into depth and so on. All of those things can be actually divided in a couple of training wheels, practically, which you already know about if you have come that far. But in order to be really great at it, you need to create a habit on each and every one of those, all right? That is the whole system. You need to have a habit of those things that together make your brain cognitive flexible. Because just knowing how to practice it and also knowing intellectually how things works scientifically as a foundation is not nearly enough for you to be able to execute it when you need it. You see, it's one thing to talk great about it to other people. It's one thing to actually understand the theory inside out, but it is a completely different thing to actually using it, to actually tangibly using it. It's almost like you watch those, food cooking programs where they make a lot of complicated foods, and it's very easy to see exactly how they do, how they do things, the theoretical things behind it. It's easy to see, and it's also easy to see how they do things practically, how they cut certain things, how they, in some way, putting ingredients together to make the dish, and then it become extraordinary. Easy to see that, right? But then when you're going to stand in the kitchen and you want to do it yourself, you're going to fail completely because you don't have the habits of doing that. Cutting this, doing that, and doing this. And when it comes to a series of dishes, you will fail on every single dish because you have seen how it works. You know how to do the practical elements, but you have not done it yourself. And therefore, you don't create those neural pathways that you need in order to be able to execute it. The same goes with communication, all right? You need to practically use every single one of those elements in order to become interpersonal communicator as part of who you are. So that is the real truth of how to become really good at this. There is no shortcuts. You really need to create a series of behaviors in a way that any of those behaviors are automatic. They are now a habit in your brain. So that is what I want to say in this video. And it's so important to understand this because I've seen a lot of guys understanding the principles of a system. I have seen guys also know the practical elements they need to use in real life scenarios. And just because of those two, they think they know it already. But then when I listen to those guys trying to execute it, they get stuck in the head all the time. Lots of, completely blank. I mean, they got blank situations. They know what they should do, but in that particular moment, they just can't think. And that is what's happening when you have to think about doing something all the time. It's not automatic, you see? It's not automatic. That's why it's so important to form an idea and a system and a plan of how to execute every single behavior enough in order to make them a habit. And many times, nothing is better than doing it in a coaching session. In a coaching session, you can actually practice those elements practically with someone who are skilled in conversations. So instead of going out and try to use it on everyone that you know day by day, and maybe you take it even further and start talking to beautiful women, try to apply it. There is a big step between knowing the scientific principles, knowing the theory, knowing how to practice, and then go over to actually using it in real public. Using it in the real public is a big step. And one of the steps that can be hugely beneficial is the one in between, is to make a lot of role plays, practice all those certain behaviors to a conversationalist, a skilled one, in order to, bridge the knowing what to do and actually doing it in real life. That part, when you're going to practice it in role plays, has been one of the most powerful things you can do that I've seen for anyone's real development, personal development. So that's definitely something I want you to think about. So now you understand the concept of actually being good at things. All right. There is one guy, an author called Malcolm Gladwell, I think. And he mentioned in his book that if you really want to be competent in something, then you have to do it over and over again. And it cannot be many variables. It cannot be many momentums. You have to be like a very limited set of variables, and you have to repeat them over and over again in order to be really competent. He's said something about 10,000 times, 10,000 repetitions, 10,000 hours. Whatever that is, you understand the idea that you have to do a small amount of things over and over again to become really, really good. And as he said also, you know nothing actually, practically, if you haven't done that. So knowing something intellectually doesn't help you at all. At least it doesn't help you much in your day-by-day life. Doing it practically and so everything become a habit is going to help you shine in today's world. Really shine. But it's not free to get there. You require a lot of effort and dedication to get from A to B. All right? But trust me, the reward is monstrous if you decided to actually make yourself cognitive flexible in such a huge area as interpersonal communication. So I hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.